Good morning, students. Today we will explain Chapter 1, Nervous Communication, Documents 1, the Nervous System and Organized Network. Before you begin, read and follow the following instructions. Our objectives for this chapter today are: specify the main functions of the nervous system in humans, list the parts of the nervous system in humans, list the organs of protection of the brain and the spinal cord, identify the structure of a nerve cell, and finally compare the three types of neurons according to their shape and function. You should have a state of brainstorming to recall the information that you studied about the nervous system in grade 10 class. Watch this video in order to test the information your memory has saved. What is a nervous system? Basically, the first simple question pops up in the mind is, what is the nervous system? The nervous system is the orchestra conductor that regulates all body functions in the organism. It is a collection of cells, tissues, and organs that regulates the body's response to internal and external stimuli. The stimulus in singular, stimuli or stimuli in plural. Now, what is a stimulus? A stimulus is an event or action capable of creating a nervous message. It could be external, like flame, a chemical substance, or air, and it could be internal, like pain at the level of organs. Now, we recognize that the nervous system is a highly organized system that has specific roles. First, it is responsible for coordination of body actions in response to stimuli from the external environment. For example, the driver slows down the speed of his car until he fully stops once he observes the red light. Basically, the leg muscle contracts to permit foot press on a brake pedal based on nervous command from the brain. Second, it permits rapid communication between different parts of the body. For example, heart beating, respiration, and digestion in stomach. Now, we're going to deal with the functions of the nervous system. For this reason, the nervous system performs three main functions that are closely interrelated. First, a sensory function, thanks to the receiving organs. This sensory function allows the reception and permission of information through sensory receptors, like eye or ear. So, someone may ask, what is a receptor? It is a structure that receives external and internal stimuli in order to convert them to nerve messages to be transmitted to the nervous centers. Second, an integration and analysis function of the information it receives from receptors. Third, a motor function allowing the response at the level of an effector organ, where the effector organs are responsible for a response like muscular contraction or glandular secretion. Now, we will talk about the organization of the nervous system. This system is highly organized. It is made up of cerebrum, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata that comprise altogether the brain, and a spinal cord that has 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. The cranial nerves start in the brain, and the spinal nerves start in the spinal cord. Now we will go for the role of the brain parts. We must realize the following roles. Cerebrum, it is the center of sensation, voluntary movements. It is the center of thinking and memory, as well as center of analysis and consciousness. Cerebellum, it maintains the equilibrium of posture and coordinates the complex movements in the body. medulla oblongata, regulation of fundamental involuntary functions such as heart rate, respiration, and body temperature. When it comes to the role of the spinal cord, we have to realize two main roles. The first one is that the transmission of nervous messages between the brain and the body. So it is a relay station. The second one, it controls certain involuntary acts to form what we call the reflex. Now, we must know that our nervous system is fully and well protected to maintain its functions. The brain is protected by the cranium, and the spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column. Now, what about the principal parts of the nervous system? Basically, the nervous system has two main divisions. The first division, which is the central nervous system, CNS, and the second one, which is peripheral nervous system, PNS. The division called the central nervous system, where most integration occurs, consists of the brain and the spinal cord. The other division, the peripheral nervous system or PNS, is made up mostly of communication lines called nerves that are cranial and spinal nerves carry signals into and out of CNS. Now, here is another question related to the cells of the nervous system. Frankly speaking, there are two major types of cells in the nervous system. The first one is neuron, a nerve cell that conducts the nervous messages, and the glial cells, a cell that maintains and supports the neuron. As far as the structure of a neuron is concerned, we recognize the following parts. Dendrites are often short, numerous, and highly branched. They convey signals from tips to the rest of the neuron. Axon, which is a single elongated fiber that conducts signals towards another neuron or towards an effector. Cell body, housing the nucleus and most of the cytoplasmic organelles. A nucleus, located in cell body and contain genetic program. Myelin sheath, thick insulating lipid material, resembles a chain of beads. Schwann cell, it's a cell that protects the myelin sheath. Nodes of Ranvier, space between Schwann cells where they are the only points on the axon where signals can be transmitted. Finally, the axon terminal, where the nerve signals are ramified through to other neurons or effectors. Now, when it comes to myelin, which is very important, we have to realize two characteristics. First, the nature. It is a lipid substance arranged in a discontinuous manner around the axon. Another one, its role. It accelerates the speed of nerve messages conduction. Now, we're going to talk about the types of neurons. Neurons are classified according to their structure, where they are determined according to the number of cytoplasmic extensions, axon or dendrites, that extend from the cell body, or according to their function, where they are determined by the nature and direction of the nervous message that propagates there. When it comes to the classification of neurons according to structure, we realize the following. Unipolar neuron, which is a neuron of single cytoplasmic extension. Bipolar neuron, which is of two cytoplasmic prolongations, one axon and one dendrite. And finally, multipolar neuron, which is made up of many cytoplasmic prolongations, one axon and many dendrites. Now, the other type of classification, which is the classification of neurons according to function, we realize the following. Afferent sensory neuron. It carries sensory information from the receptor organ to the central nervous system. Example, tactile neuron found in the skin. As you can see, it sends the message from the receptor to central nervous system. Another one, which is afferent motor neuron. Basically, it carries motor information from the central nervous system to effector organs, whether these effector organs are muscles or glands. For example, the motor neurons innervating the muscular fibers. And as you can see, the motor neuron carries this nervous message from CNS to the effector organ. Finally, the interneuron or association neuron. Basically, it links between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron. And as you can see, you can observe this kind of link between the two neurons, sensory and motor. The body is permanently stimulated from the surrounding environment. The eyes react to light. The nose picks up smell. The ear is sensitive to noise. The tongue receives food taste. The skin is sensitive to temperature, and it is in contact with objects to define their characteristics. These organs are correlated with our senses and known as sensory organs. When a sensory organ is stimulated, it creates a nerve message of electric nature to be transmitted from the sensory organ to the nerve center, a brain or spinal cord. These nerve centers analyze the sensory nerve message received from the sensory organs based on sensory organ nature. For example, the nerve messages received from the eye goes to the back of the brain, and the nerve messages received from the skin goes to the middle zone of the brain, and so on. The arrival of nerve messages to nerve centers stimulate a complex and fast analysis, leads to creation of new messages known as motor messages, traverse motor neurons to effector organs. For example, this muscle receives a nerve message to contract. Now we have to deal with a formative evaluation.